Today we're going to review the logo design for Tecnológico de Monterrey by Chermayeff Geismar Haviv. I have no idea if I pronounced that well, but that is the famous design firm from New York. Was this a change in the right direction? How did the students react to this change? How is this logo doing after almost 10 years of its redesign? And is this logo well designed? Hello my creative friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alejandro, I'm a brand designer from Costa Rica, and in this channel I share with you everything related to brand design. Let's begin. So the last weekend I went to Monterrey to meet my business partner Eugenio face to face for the first time. It was a really good experience, and he took me to this tour to his university, the university that he is currently studying, which is Tecnológico de Monterrey. Such a great experience, such a great campus. It was awesome. Turns out this is not only a great university, but also the logo was designed by one of the greatest design firms in the world, which is Chermayeff Geismar Haviv. And Sagi Haviv is my favorite logo designer by far. And of course, I said it would be really interesting to make a review of this particular logo design. Let's start with the basics. What is Tec de Monterrey? So the full name in Spanish is Instituto Tecnológico de Estudios Superiores de Monterrey, and in English, Monterrey Institute of Technology and Higher Education. This is a private university based on Monterrey, has 35 campuses in Monterrey, Mexico, very important. And it has 35 campuses throughout the country, and is widely recognized as one of the most prestigious universities in whole Latin America. So this logo was created back in 2014. So again, this is not something new, it's the same logo, but I just wanted to make a review of this logo anyways. So why in the first place they wanted to change this logo? So let's take a look at the case study by this design firm, Chermayeff Geismar Haviv, and let's read what they say in here. They say, founded in 1943, Tecnológico de Monterrey is a prestigious and academically rigorous private university in Monterrey, Mexico. Tecnológico de Monterrey launched an initiative called Tec 21 to prepare the institution for a more flexible, collaborative, modern, and competitive world. So this was kind of what they were trying to do. They were kind of trying to modernize a bit their perception. In this context, Tecnológico de Monterrey, the Tecnológico de Monterrey seal began to feel somewhat dated, and I'll show you that in a bit. And it had never been redesigned as a modern logo as it was being used. It was difficult to use in digital formats, and not every element in its seal was relevant for the university offerings. However, affection for the seal was very strong, of course. I mean, if you go to a certain university that's very prestigious and it has, certain symbol or a certain, seal, I mean, you'll learn to love that symbol. It represents like a part of your life. It represents, part of even your identity. So of course, changing something like that and making such a drastic change, it was, of course, very, very hard. And in a bit, I'm going to show you some of the perception that Sagi Haviv shares about how is it to work in a different country, like in this case, Mexico, and how this was a big challenge. So this is the logo. This is the new symbol that they created. And what they said is that Chermayeff, Geismar, Haviv offer a way out of this impasse by emphasizing the seal's position as the official and formal imprimatur of the institution on diplomas and presidential communications, for example. The space is opened for a more modern and simple mark that can be identified the university in every use. The new symbol contains a special torch, a highly recognized element of the seal, which represents knowledge and leadership within the blue circle suggesting the world. Okay, so this is kind of what they're trying to do. They took out the original torch from the seal, and they said, hey, this is kind of the most recognized element of it. And they said, well, let's just use one of those elements and then put it on the logo to kind of make that connection. And this is what they say that this is representing. Now, here's the thing. I often hear different positions when it comes to representing something. So it says represents knowledge and leadership. This torch. some people say, hey, I don't understand this because if I see this torch, I don't see knowledge or I don't see leadership. This is not something that is projecting. It's very hard to say this is going to be projecting or something. So I think the key is represent. It's not that this is projecting. It's not that you're seeing the symbol and then you say, oh, yeah, for sure, knowledge and leadership. It's not like that. It's that you know that when you see this, if you're part of the university, if you're part of, let's say, this organization, you know what the torch represents. And exactly the same thing happens for instance, with the flags of the countries. So when you see, for instance, in my case, the flag of Costa Rica has blue. It symbolizes, the blue skies and all this type of things. So you don't say like, oh yeah, definitely, I see the blue and this is where it takes me. It's not like that, but you know what each color represents and you feel identified with it. Because the option is, well, we just chose random colors. We just chose random symbols. They don't represent anything, but they somehow are going to be used as symbols to, identify the university. It's kind of hard to achieve that kind of level of identification. So this is some of the applications. This particular one, I just really don't like because and of course this is a part of the taste, but what I don't like about it is it's it's a very simple gradient and has nothing modern going on, and the symbol is just being repeated all over. That is the easiest way to make like some texture, but no, I think that they could have used the element of the flames, let's say, to create like a more secondary graphics that they could use. But still, it's valid. I have noticed that this particular design firm, they don't like to create design systems. So what they like to create is just a logo, create a couple of examples of how the logo can be used, and that's it. And of course, we need to take into account that this was designed about 10 years ago. So I mean, it's just that it's not like totally new. And so it's understandable that it looks a little bit not that modern as nowadays design. So this is some of the use cases as we see. It's very efficient. The typography is a serif typography that is very well aligned with how serious and prestigious the university is, and so that makes total sense. And as we can see, the symbol it totally achieves the role of identification. So now let's see from this website, brand new, which is a subscription magazine that I am subscribed to, and they show here the before and after of this logo. But it's very important to notice that this is the seal. Let me see if I can zoom it out a bit. Well, it's not the best. I think. Okay, here we go. So this is the seal that they currently have. Actually, and this is what my business partner told me, that this seal is kind of the formal one for certificates and all this type of things. So you would need to request permission from the university to be able to use this in any type of communication. So it's very important for them. And yeah, I think that the problem that this has is that it has a lot of elements going on. I mean, in terms of design, it's just not a good seal. All the elements, and when you reduce it, I mean, it does not does a really good job of being small. Look at, for instance, here, like it started losing some details and so on and so forth. So there are, of course, better seals. But what I understand is, of course, that this is not a seal either. So they needed a seal, to identify the university and more, in more like, let's say, formal type of applications. And they decided to leave that as it is. I think that this seal needs a redesign, and I hope they do it sooner. But if it was a challenge to add, let's say, a new symbol, it's going to be a bigger challenge to just change something that is, so well recognized and so part of, so many people in Tec de Monterrey. So I don't know who will want to do that. But yeah, I think this needs definitely a redesign to make like a more, like a better design overall. Okay, so this is like some applications of how this logo lives in different, let's say, color backgrounds and so on and so forth. Different applications like business card and see we can see how like there are different other sub brands like the Escuela de Medicina medicine school, for instance, has their own kind of variation of the logo, and this is how they would apply it. And this is another variation of the logo, which is kind of a seal. It's not exactly a seal, but it's kind of a another application. So this is the apps. Actually, I had the opportunity to go to their merch store. It was closed, unfortunately. I just looked at it from the outside, and I can tell you, like this is real. They're doing this this merch, and they're using this logo. Like this logo is all over the place. They're really using it everywhere. And so this merch is not only just examples or mock-ups that they're doing. This is something that that they use, and they nowadays I think they were proud of their logo and they use it everywhere. But of course, at the beginning, this was a big challenge for them. So now I want to read to you what Chermayeff Haviv said in one of the blogs that is a very well recognized blog in the world of brand identity design, which is Logo Design Love. Actually, there's a book that is called like that. And what he says is that we were surprised to find that even in a foreign country and in a very different culture, the experience of working with a university would present remarkably similar challenges to working with other universities in the United States. Tec de Monterrey, which is kind of the abbreviation, is a major private university in Mexico with blah, 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 blah. And it says that it traditionally used a seal that represented significant challenges in application, yet it was beloved by the alumni, faculty, and students alike. So the cool part of this is that it shows some of the sketches of the new symbol, and so this part always, I just nerd over this type of things. As you can see, they one of the things they started to try. It was like a more, and this is something that we'll see coming on, but they say, okay, the flames with a more, with the same separation between them. This is one of the things that they criticize. Let's see flames with a more, symmetric approach where you see the same thickness, the same approach. And so, but this doesn't look as good, for instance, as a flame as this. This can look like a brush, but this definitely looks like fire. That's the challenge: is how do you represent fire in a very minimalistic way? It's just not that easy. And they use different, as you can see, like different approaches. How can we do fire from different minimalistic places? But at the end, they chose this variation, which is very, very, I think is very cool. So it continues saying, creating a new identity system for tech was less of a challenge than getting it accepted. When the logo was first launched, there was an immediate public outcry. With more than 52 million Facebook impressions over the first couple of days, illustrations of the logo burning the university down were common. So yeah, eventually people settled down and realized that the university wasn't getting rid of the historic seal, but rather adding an element that would be easier to use every day. And it seems that to be gaining acceptance now after years or so. And that is true, because I saw the logo being applied in the university and nobody was, crying or, just crying out loud about the logo being changed after, of course, 10 years. But then this is where things get interesting because, for instance, this is a Spanish based design. And this person here, which is, I can't remember the name, Romualdo Farah, he is a brand. It seems like he's a brand designer, and he taught some classes of design there in the Tecnológico de Monterrey. So he says that he feels. The writer was lucky enough to give design classes a few years ago at this institution. I keep a pleasant memory, and blah blah. So he's part of it. And this is one of the accurate representations of before and after, because before it was just a seal, and after we just have two elements. So he says something really interesting, which is a very hard critique of this work. So he said, I have already commented on previous occasions that the latest works of the consulting firm Chermayeff and etc. Because I understand that it's kind of hard to pronounce that in English. It says are real nonsense, and among them, some that come to the insult, like this one of Tech. So he's saying this, you know what, this logo is a total insult. And I'm like, what? What are your arguments for saying that? And not only because the logo is a real crap as an element of identification. So he's getting emotional here. Because of the anodyne, I have no idea what that is, nature of the symbol and its null distinctive character, but because of how poorly executed it is. If you look closely, you realize that the separations between the flames are not the same, and the different endings of the shapes cause an unbalanced composition. Okay, so I said, is this true? Because he said the logo is crap, and he's saying because it does not have a distinctive character. And I think that the time has proved him wrong, because when you see this logo, you immediately see and know that this is the logo from Tec de Monterrey. So distinctive it is. Now, what about the other argument that he says, you know what? If you look closely, you realize the separations between the flames are not the same. So the logo has been poorly executed. Okay, so I said, what if we redesign a logo that looks like, as he said, with the same endings, with the same separation, with the same thickness? And that's what I intended to do in this exercise. Okay, so I went to Illustrator and I started drawing like some lines between, so this is the same line. And as you can see, of course, this is a different thickness or a different space between them. I also draw like some lines between the endings and the next line. And of course, as you can see, there are different, so it's very irregular. So what he says is true, like this logo has these irregularities. But the question is not, does this logo has these irregularities? It's like, is this a problem? Is this an issue in the logo? Is this, does this, irregularities, let's say, make this total crap, like he says? Well, so I decided to make a grid, and by doing that with, let's say, the same thickness of one of these lines, and then the same level of separation between one of these flames and the next one. And of course, you can start to see that in here, like there's a difference between the spaces. So there is no question about that. And then I decided to use kind of circles to create kind of the roundness and try to make this very symmetrical and very geometrically correct, which is kind of the critique that this logo was kind of receiving. And of course, I started to iterating, and you see that I started to put in the flames and kind of the same size, the same level of roundness of the flames, and so on and so forth. So this is an option where you can see that all the flames are of the same size and all the flames are in the same level of separation. And the reason I did this is just to show how ugly this looks. This doesn't look like a flame. It looks like it just like it looks like another symbol. It's very, very hard to just look at this and say, oh yeah, this is a torch. Because of the level of separation from the flames to the torch is not that natural. I mean, usually this is not like a flame or a couple of flames. This is not how it works. And so this is starting to look like, okay, maybe something like geometrically perfect, or same level of separation, same level of thickness. Maybe this is not the best idea. So I keep exploring, and this is another option that I found. And so in here, what I'm doing is just to put the flames a little bit more closer to the base. That makes it a little bit more natural. And then kind of using a small flame here and a small flame here. And so this way you will see, okay, so this is geometrically perfect in the sense that all the flames are of the same thickness. They're at the same separation. It makes sense that you have a flame in one side, a flame in the other. But somehow, if you put this logo together with this other one, somehow this looks better. There is something of this logo that makes it good. And I think that at the end of the day, it comes down to what is it that this logo is representing? This is representing or trying to kind of abstract, which is a flame. This is an abstraction of a flame, and a flame is not, perfectly geometrical. This is not, and so our minds are not able to process, this geometry as a flame. A flame usually is not geometrical, and I understand that sometimes you can represent things are not geometrical in a geometrical way as part of an artistic decision or whatever. But in this particular case, I think that they went in the right direction. The direction was not to make things perfect in a perfect separation, but it was to give it a sense of this is a flame. And so I think this was a great lesson for me in terms of sometimes what it looks like geometrically perfect is not what makes a perfect logo. And so I think the Tecnológico de Monterrey, the logo just as it is perfect to me. It doesn't need like this other version that it can be, like perfect or, more, let's say, geometrically correct, if that word even exists. And so, yeah, I think that argument that this person used to say that, oh, this logo is crap, is not valid either. And so my verdict is this logo is great. And, probably this firm is just not selling smoke, as they say. And probably they know what they're doing, and they created a great mark that is standing nowadays as one of the best, logos of one of the best universities in the world. Another thing that I noticed was that if you kind of make a line around the flames of this first version, the result is kind of like an oval. But if you do the same thing around this other version that they did, it looks a little bit more like a flame. So I think that is to say that at the end, one of the reasons for doing this as irregular as it is that they want it to look more like a flame. And so the other thing that I noticed also, it was in terms of balance. If you notice, this logo has different spaces. Look at this spaces over here, this spaces over here. They are opposite to each other. And I think that helps to kind of balance the composition a bit. Of course, the base is this part in yellow where, this kind of grounds the whole kind of, let's say, flame that, of course, is getting out of the torch. And I think that this is an argument to saying this logo is not lacking any balance. It has, points of, let's say, a little bit of white spaces in opposite sides. So that is, I think, what creates like a balanced composition in this particular case. So yeah, this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me that this logo is just great as it is? Or do you think that there is another option that should be created, or the previous one that I created is better than this one, which I don't think so. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't done that. And I see you in the next video. Bye.